Having an escape, a place where you can get away from it all, especially these days with our fast-paced, instant gratification, instant communication 4G culture, can be important, to say the least. Whether that escape is a figurative one, through the pages of your favorite fiction series, or more literal as it is in my case, these places form who we are, and leave us with a sense of connection to the fond memories of our past. Memories shared with friends and family, in a place and time when everything was simpler, and finding time to bring everyone together in one room was something that was actually feasible. This escape for me and my closest friends would be my family's humble little cabin on John's Island. It sits on a small parcel of land placed atop a cliff at the back of what the locals call Hook's Cove. My grandpa bought the land happenchance from his current family doctor, who he still sees today. He's looking to parse out some of his holdings in the San Juans, and he jumped at the opportunity. It was a big investment for my grandpa, obviously, being a working man, but he knew what a good opportunity it was and that prices would just continue to skyrocket, so he jumped on it. And they began construction the same year that he bought it, 1973. Throughout the years, the cabin would become the favorite location for a lot of my friends. Summer trips would become the regular. I can remember the times we spent flipping rocks at the crab beach, trying to find the biggest ones for crab battles, huge makeshift rafts and forts made entirely out of driftwood, the phosphorescence in the water while you sit by the fire crackling away at the beach. I'll always cherish these times, but none of them sits more fondly in my heart than the last grand excursion with the boys that we took following our senior year. While many of the guys had seen the cabin before, simply because living in a solitary location like John's Island for a week without meaningful access to a Safeway means hauling a lot of supplies, and hauling more than 2 friends, once you factored in gear and the rest of my family, typically made for a pretty cramped situation, to say the least. But this is the first year that I would be able to take the outboard solo. No immediate family to haul, which also meant no tendency for excessive supply preparedness from my dear mother. With this in mind, I was sure we could fit 9, so I instructed everybody to pack light and to prepare themselves to relinquish their legroom for the next few hours, and we were off. Initially, we were worried about the load, definitely pushing it after stocking up on the expected refreshments for the week, cheap half-gallons and watery 30 racks. I suggest maybe making a double trip with some people going through the Roche ferry system, but that suggestion was quickly ousted. We were a bit lower on the water than usual, harder to get up on a plane, but we made it, and because we were there so early in the summer, we had most of the island to ourselves. Many memories were made, rafts constructed and commandeered for drunken water jousting, sorry attempts at ice-cold water skiing without wetsuits, but nothing could possibly compete with our midnight encounter with the whales. All over the Pacific Ocean, especially so in the San Juan regions, phosphorescent plankton is rife during the summer months, and if you're lucky to find a spot far away from any sort of significant light pollution at night, running your hand through the water somehow activates the plankton, revealing beautiful green streaks in the water, something straight out of James Cameron's Avatar if I could compare it to anything. It's really magical stuff. So, on that night, I decided to surprise some of my friends who weren't familiar with this, and I took them out in the kayaks around 2 a.m. They were in absolute awe, as you can imagine, to the point that I was worried that maybe our inebriated state was a little too much, bobbing around in the freezing cold open water with no land to speak of in sight, but we threw caution to the wind. We floated around for what must have been an hour, oohing and eyeing at the beautiful jet streams of neon green left behind our slim kayaks left in deep space before I realized how far the current had taken us out of the cove. I looked around for land and a little rush went through my body when I saw the little light of the cabin in the distance, and right as I was about to suggest we start making our way back, promptly one of the biggest male orcas I've ever seen in my life breached about 8 feet from my friend Dan. And 2 seconds later, another one breaches by my friend Ollie. A second later, one behind me, and then they were gone. Just like that, they were gone. But we all sat there motionless in disbelief in what we had all just experienced for what felt like 30 seconds, and then burst out laughing, as you can expect. So loudly, in fact, that the others back on shore, all the way back, could hear us, and they wondered what the hell was going on. Once we'd finished, I notified the boys of our proximity to the island, and we all refocused. Took us about 45 minutes to get back, battling against the currents, but once we reached land, we realized how really dangerous what we had just done was. Breaching waves